Ford in the 1980s underwent a number of organizational changes. One of them had to do with their procurement process. This is the process from the moment a purchase needs to be done to the moment the payment has been made. Ford needed to make this process cheaper, faster, and better. Specifically because despite the fact that the department was employing 500 people, the turnaround times for processing POs and invoices was in the order of weeks. Initially, Ford wanted to address this improvement problem by doing some rationalization of the process and introducing an information system that will help to automate or semi-automate some of the tasks in this process. They foresaw that these changes were going to bring some benefits of around 20% in terms of the headcount, meaning they will go from 500 people to 400 people in the accounts payable department, and there will be some small incremental improvement in terms of the processing time of purchase orders and invoices. Ford found out that its counterpart in Japan, which had just acquired, namely Mazda, was running its accounts payable department supporting a procurement process with 5 people. So 500, 5. Obviously, the scales were quite different. Ford was a larger organization, but even accounting for the differences in the size of the organizations, the size of the headcount at Ford needed to be reduced not from 500 to 400, but from 500 to 100. And that required a radical redesign of their process. Let's have a look first at how the procurement process was working at Ford at the time. When someone needed to purchase something, they will phone the purchasing department. They will specify what they needed, and the purchasing department will enter that data into a computer, and a purchase order will be produced. That purchase order will be sent to the vendor, and a copy of it will be sent to the accounts payable department. The accounts payable department will receive this purchase order, and at that point basically do nothing other than store it. Eventually, the vendor will deliver the goods to another department, the goods receipt department. The receiving department will make a report of what is received, and that will be sent to accounts payable. Accounts payable will receive this receiving document and again do nothing, just store the document. The vendor will send an invoice directly to the accounts payable department at a later point in time. And this is not necessarily one invoice for one purchase order, but it could be like many invoices for one purchase order, many purchase orders for one invoice. The relation between the two was many to many. The accounts payable department will start to figure out what purchase order will correspond to that invoice, what receiving document will correspond to that purchase order and that invoice, and will match items in these 3 documents to figure out whether that invoice should actually be paid. They will call these 3-way matching. Purchase order match with receiving document match with invoices. Eventually, after this 3-way matching process, a clerk at the accounts payable department will trigger a payment to the vendor, for example, by sending a check. This 3-way matching activity was the most time-consuming part of the process, not only because of the actual matching itself, but of the fact that it raised a lot of errors that had to be communicated sometimes to the vendor, sometimes to the purchasing department, sometimes to the receiving department. This will introduce a lot of handovers and waiting times. And one could have gone on making significant investments trying to automate it. But if we step back and we revisit this process from first principles, we can actually do much better.